We sent around the minutes. Were there any comments or questions, edits to those? If not, can we get a motion to adopt those? Okay, so moved by Ken Sheelan and seconded. Okay, seconded over here, all in favor? Aye. Before we go any further, Commissioner Jen, thank you for coming. You're welcome. Okay. Treasurer's report, Clark.
Yes, we have $9,623.95 in our checking account.
Right. And then as far as membership renewals, Patrick and you are working on a few ones yet to come, but I think we're doing decently well this year. Yeah.
7.
We have 7 condos in the renewal process right now, and 1 platinum in the renewals.
Okay. All right. With that said, I'm happy to have Joe Polzak with us today. Joe, as you folks would, I think everybody might know, is our city attorney. Been with the city how long?
Since 2014.
2014, and he's taken over from Bob Fournier about 9 months, a year ago, I guess, at this point.
Appointment November of 24, transition period, and then went operational in beginning of 25.
Yeah, right. So Joe is a former felony prosecutor, so we don't want to go.
Be careful.
Yeah, we'll be careful of that. And other accolades, such as received the Sarasota NAACP President's Award for developing SPD's award-winning homeless response program. So Joe, I think we know what you do. You and I have talked today. We're going to keep things a little bit more of a conversation, allow a lot more time for questions. From a DSCA standpoint, you know some of the matters dear into our heart. So could you say a few words? In particular, we're interested in status of the special events ordinance and the sound ordinance. And
sure.
So if you could just update us on where things stand with those.
Sure. And I've got, does this work? Yep. Yeah. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Generally, lawyers are not accused of being soft-spoken or not verbose, so I don't think that'll be a problem. But appreciate everybody. I've had a lot of interactions with a number of people here, and I always appreciate it. And David, you and I communicate. He's usually at the meetings. Always open door to all of you. Please call me and give you my contact information tonight, or it's publicly available on the city website and my Florida Bar profile. But always interested in hearing issues or speaking to them, whatever I can do as a resource. You know, my main thing in taking over is making a bunch of process changes internally, which is a whole separate topic for how the city attorney's office functions, kind of modernizing it, bringing in a lot of technology and some process, some CPI, that kind of stuff for those who are into that. But to what your tasking is, for the special events, so we have there's kind of broken out into 2 projects, the special events ordinance, we'll call it, and then the sound ordinance, we can call it that. Jennifer Jorgensen and Joe Maladnik with my office have been working on the special events ordinance. I think that's planning on coming forward at the next city commission meeting, I believe, or the second one from now.
March 2nd.
Okay, there we go. I think they're getting everything for the agenda. Deadline is Friday for that. So that's one piece. The sound ordinance is obviously the most substantive piece to sound regulation in the city. That's come before the commission a few times. My predecessor, Bob Fournier, did a bunch of work on it, trying to kind of bring that up to date. The previous version of the ordinance, and Bob would agree, he didn't draft it, so I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. It was a mess. Terrible organizational structure of it. Just a mess. Hard for SPD to enforce, and just created all kinds of issues. So it needed to be fixed just from a housekeeping standpoint, which is one of the primary motivations. One near to my heart, kind of cleaning up our code to make it just, you know, comport with legislative best practices, code structure, enforceability, all that kind of thing. That was a prime target, as was our procurement code, with which the commission just passed on Monday. Those will both be dramatic improvements in our code structure itself, in my opinion. Now, Sound code is obviously undone. It will be back before the commission as soon as possible. The commission authorized, I believe, the most rational, evidence-based approach to it, which was to authorize me to engage an acoustics expert to come into Sarasota and do a study. That's happened here before a long time ago. Hasn't been done in a while. Most modern major cities that do a substantive complete overhaul of their sound codes will use a sound expert. So talk to a number of them, talk to a number of experts, zeroing in on one that I think is the best combination of value and competency, which I've been authorized to do. And I'm hoping to deploy them in February to come in and do that study. That study is not officially designed yet, but will include community workshops, open to the community what they suggest. Obviously, community input's a key part of that. And they're going to suggest considerations on the legal structure of the ordinance and kind of the operational issues of the function of the sound code. For instance, the commission wanted the expert to look at, do we need zones? Residential zones, should those be treated differently than a town zone or an entertainment zone or so forth? That's something that have that expert examine. Obviously have them examine the thresholds that are at play, the decibel levels. Make sure the plainly audible standard is constructed the right way. All of these things will just be kind of advisory information given to the commissions. Obviously the commission's decision, they're the policymaker in the city. It's going to be their call how it's ultimately structured, but they need to be informed. It needs to be an evidence-based discussion. In other words, conducting forensic evaluation of sound levels in the city, looking at best practices across the state, making sure we're up to date with the most modern case law, which obviously is readily accessible and we're going to incorporate, but just making sure we're not missing any angles of attack. This expert that I'm kind of narrowing in on just recently did Fort Lauderdale, Polk County, has worked with school boards. Doesn't make sense to reinvent a wheel that somebody's already perfected and operating very smoothly. So that's my approach to that. I believe evidence-based is the only way to go. And that involves collecting the data that you need. And it's not just the law, that's the evidence, also to the fact layer. How is our city structured? How is it laid out? What are the sound issues that y'all are experiencing? So that's how we intend to approach that. As far as timelines, I hope to have them deployed in February, try to bring it back as soon as possible. It's going to be kind of governed by, in part, the feedback we get during workshops and which directions those may lead us. And then, hope to have it as quickly back to the commission after that's completed. So the questions
Yeah. Let's maybe divide this into a couple of pieces.
Okay.
We'll do some questions now, if that's okay. And our protocol is we'll start with the board members and then we'll take a few from other member reps and stuff like that. So
sounds good.
Peter, yes, sir.
Yes.
Hey, Peter.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit of a loud Philly guy, so.
No worries. I love Philly. It's a great city.
Anyway, so my question is on car noise.
Yes.
So that's a big problem first it's a problem along Main Street. There's a lot of revving, some loud music. All that is, we have statutory approval to enforce that.
Right.
And then we have loud noise, revving, drag racing noise on, US 41 and other roads throughout the day, a lot at night when traffic is slugger.
Right.
Are they going to look at that, the sound experts?
Yes, actually, this third one that I just spoke of specifically has addressed that issue in other cities and what options are available to address it.
And did they do that in Fort Lauderdale or?
I think so. And there's even been some exploration of camera enforcement technology, which is really.
I'm sorry, I was supposed to speak into this, but yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That was my big question.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're on board with where we need to be.
Yeah.
Great.
I started looking at some of the data as to that. There's a pretty documented history of radio noise complaints, less so with exhaust or motor revving, surprisingly. The data regarding complaints just isn't robust. I think it was in the past year, under 5 documented complaints with SPD, which is probably surprising to y'all.
Yeah, well, I don't think people file complaints because what are you gonna do? And
Yeah.
by the time, cop comes around, they've moved on.
Yeah. I don't disagree. That's why I always encourage people to make the complaint though, because it makes up part of the data fabric that like this expert's going to look
Right.
at.
Well, we're meeting with Pat Robinson, but I mean, one of the things we're thinking about is a click to fix to add videos. Because right now you can just add a picture,
Okay.
but that doesn't help when it's a noise issue.
Right. And that goes to, other departments, not the police department. So we'll just have to think about
Yeah,
that.
no, I know. But since you had the expert and who has experience in Florida, Fort Lauderdale and other places,
Yeah.
maybe they can advise on that.
Yeah. And I think, technology is, near to my heart and definitely worth examining every possibility for that.
Great.
It was interesting you say that though, because I was walking to lunch downtown just the other day and there was 2 people drove by in a red Ferrari and were gunning the engine as they were driving by. So I get it. Yeah.
So there is a way to catch people who are revving at the stop sign and disappear.
I think like Peter said, it's hard for SPD because by the time they're deployed, those people are going to be gone, or no longer engaging in the activity.
I assume it's got to be electronic. It's
Right.
a picture.
Right.
Well, what if, what's on the book, if you drive, you've got at a given time, you've got a police officer at one corner and one in the middle of the block and one at the end of the block. The one says, look for the red Ferrari. The guy in the gal in the middle of the block does the noise reading, and the person at the end of the block flags them over, and doing almost like some key identified times, 5 to 6 on Fridays or something like that, or 11 to midnight. And get publicity that these, just like DUI checkpoints are going to be at such and such tonight. It's almost like sound checks are going to be at such and such. I'm being slightly facetious.
No, that is an option.
But I think, in my opinion, half of our noise issues are the motorcycles and cars as much of other noise matters.
And would you say engine exhaust or radio?
In my opinion, it's exhaust and revving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Revving and standing kind of stuff, as you saw yourself.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah. Unfortunately, or not. I mean, it can be explained, but the SPD data just doesn't speak to that, as I said.
Yeah. Well, then, but that's so we. Well, I guess the question is, can we not act based on the SPD data, because that's just
no. I think
reporting and it's very selective, and most people aren't going to say, well, the Ferrari kind of ruined my dessert a little bit, gave me a headache, but then moved on. So
yeah, I mean,
how do you report that? You look like an idiot.
I think the presence of data would be helpful. The absence of it isn't dispositive. So in other words, the absence can be explained, and I'll make sure that is explained.
Okay, great. Well, Fort Lauderdale has a specific provision against revving. So in addition to the sound ordinance, in terms of decibel levels, they actually explicitly prohibit it.
Okay.
So, and it's different from the state statute regarding modified muffler, just to point that out.
Right.
Enough of the weeds.
Right. No, appreciate it. And it'll be good because this expert that worked in Fort Lauderdale may be the pick, and then we'll have that experience. As you said, there are 2 state statutes on the books. One is for exhaust specific, and the other one is for car radios.
Yeah.
So the revving is something that can be handled by local ordinance.
One thing I was looking at is the difference between DBA and DBC.
Right.
And I think that's a huge difference, because it's the boom, boom, boom that seems to irritate most of the people and rattle the windows.
Right.
As far as on music and events and that kind of thing. And
right.
Is there something that we're looking at that separating that out?
Yes.
Because that seems to be, they've always been put together in the just DB level.
Yes, 100%. No, you're exactly right. And that speaks to why we need an acoustic expert to, measure that in the city. Because obviously bass is a different transmission and reception than treble. That's what you're talking about basically. So That's why we really need the expert to make sure our code is properly constructed that way, both legally and operationally, to address the issues in the city. And I really want them to inform the commission about all these aspects. I mean, commissioners can't be experts on every vertical within municipal governance. So they need some expert advice, in my opinion, and I'm going to give it to them.
Other board members with questions? Joe, I've just got one overall.
Sure.
We've been talking about this forever,
Yes.
forever.
Yes.
And it seems like some new players, maybe the chamber or somebody's coming in and wanting more workshops. We'll workshop this to death.
Right. Right.
So what, and we know that the commission goes on their summer break, the middle of May.
Right.
Is it your clear intention to get this on an agenda for action before that break?
Yes.
Okay, good. A question down here.
Joe, my first love is homeless people.
Yes.
Can you comment on anything on the horizon to help us with outdoor lodging, loitering, urination, gathering in inappropriate spots? Do you see anything coming up?
Sure. So yeah, appreciate it, Peter. You and I go way back on that topic. Yeah, and I stop me because I could digress there and get into a huge presentation. But as much as people have different opinions, Sarasota is actually a national model for homelessness response. And the evidence of that is we've been recognized by U.S. Department of Justice, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, the Office of Judicial Programming, the National Institute of Justice. I could go on, that have recognized and promoted and promulgated SPD's policies and programs and homelessness response across the country as a best practice. That is a huge thing when you consider where Sarasota came from as the meanest city designation by the National Coalition to End Homelessness in 2006. Injunctions by Judge David Denkin against enforcement of our code, repeated auditing by various NGOs, civil litigation, all that is stopped. When's the last time the city's been sued regarding our homelessness response? That's a big deal when we talk about the governance of the city. So that doesn't say there isn't still issues on the streets, and there probably always will be. Homelessness is as old as, anything, right? But we have a program in place that works, and it's in partnership with the community, the Continuum of Care, Sarasota County, all the social service NGOs, U.S. Housing and Urban Development Department, all those kind of things are now deployed to bring resources to bear on the city. Not just social services, but enforcement. In Sarasota, we actually enforce the rule of law, which take a scan across the news. That's not true in most cities. They've broken down, they don't enforce, they're just tolerating really what I would submit and I've presented are third world environments existing on the streets. That's not fair, that's not humane in my view, to allow people to live in that kind of condition. It spreads disease and poverty. This is not a good situation. Our goal and our program's goal is to deploy social services to where people are at, get them to engage in that, see if we can lift people out of that situation and bring them to a self-sustaining living existence. Exactly. And that's been very successful. Our numbers, but again, data, our HUD point in time count data was, I think it peaked at 1,700, 1,800 homeless individuals in the city. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Commissioner. But maybe that was the county number. So 1,200 people roughly in our city, primarily our downtown core. Now we're waiting for the new PIT numbers, but I think it was this, how much? Under 300, right? That's a huge, huge change. So in terms of additional legal instruments we need, I don't know that we need them. I'm always examining that. I'm told the commission I want to do a full audit of our city code and look at what needs to be stricken out of there, updated, cleaned up, added. So I will definitely do that in this area. One thing I could say you all should be proud of is that, the state legislature passed a bill basically that had effect on local government, that if they didn't have legal instruments in place to regulate camping by homeless individuals, it put this strict regulatory structure upon them with consequences. We're exempt from that because we do have an outdoor lodging ordinance. We do have other ordinances, we enforce them. So we're exempt from that state law. So we're able to continue to do what we do. Please. I yield my time to the commissioner.
So in addition to that, we just on Monday raised the amount of beds we provide at the Salvation Army. And by we, I mean all of you, because we pay for them, to 25 beds. It's free every night for somebody who enters into the Salvation Army. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to swear to anything. They just have to be brought in by our police department or come in on behalf of the city of Sarasota. So 25 beds every night. Up from 20. The cost is $40,000 a year?
I forget because it was, I think you approved
It's
the total.
$40,000 more a year, so it's $400,000,
Yes.
about $400,000 a year.
Yes. And just to add on to that, we have data on the success ratio. In other words, housing outcomes for our bed entrance. And so we monitor and measure individuals that are brought into our beds. What if any housing outcomes result? And the last I looked at it, the data was like 11 or 12% end up in a positive housing outcome, which there's a HUD definition, then just a general definition, common sense one, that they end up somewhere other than being homeless. And it was about 11 or 12% a few years ago. The national best practice on that is like 3 or 4%. So again, it's a very high performing program for us, which is what it's designed to be and should be.
You want to go outside the board? There's a few questions on that.
Yeah, let's go outside the board momentarily.
Yes,
We've
sir.
got representatives here from 1350 and the Mark and the Jewel. So
All beautiful buildings.
John Simon, you have any questions or?
My understanding is Florida law does not permit camera technology.
Florida law does not permit camera technology to catch for a sound violation or revving cars or something of that nature. Is that right?
So it's you're right in that it's very strict, and it usually requires a legislative authorization, like the Mark Wendell Act for the red light cameras, the recent statutory provision for speed cameras in school zones. So I'm curious to see how other cities have, and that's usually has to do with chapter 316 exemption for like our roadways, which the state has plenary authority over. There are some kind of carve outs that we can do. And I'm curious to see what other cities have done on that, because as I mentioned, this expert has done something in Fort Lauderdale.
Because if it takes a legislative change, maybe we should be talking to our representatives.
Yeah. I mean, that obviously would be a longer process. If there's something we can do, and I'll make sure obviously it's legally compliant, but
We're not.
or not. Yeah.
Okay, Jim Lample.
Jim Lample, the Joel. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe, you keep alluding to, we have a matrix model of several Florida cities. Could you just give us a quick matrix rundown of what Fort Lauderdale recently did? Because I don't think, and sort of, yeah, in terms of sound, because I don't think we're aware. So we could see where we might be, what our target might be.
Yeah. In terms of, if you're talking about threshold sound levels,
Yeah.
I don't have that data with me, but that's definitely something that.
I mean, are they at plainly audible at 100 feet? Are those targets that we're looking at?
Right. That's what I want. That's what I'm going to employ the expert to do, is to look across similarly situated cities with similar downtowns to us and examine
Yeah,
those.
but we already have that matrix.
You guys gave me some information. I
Right.
appreciate it. Yeah. Now, the difference is where the expert comes into play is not just what other cities have put on the paper, but what's happening on the ground. How is their downtown structured? What are the forensic measurements? Things that if an ordinance was challenged in court, that's what a court's going to look at. And the expert would come in and defend us. And we'd be able to sustain the enforcement of our ordinance. So
Hey, Joe, we have a question from someone online, Sue Lair. She's the rep at the Embassy House. She asks, I've been told several times that Naples buses, they're homeless here, and I'm wondering if this is still happening. And if
Yeah.
so, what do we do about it? Thank you.
It's a good question. I think, you know, there have been documented instances where individuals experiencing homelessness, homeless individuals, were transported into the city by sometimes identified organizations or parties, sometimes unidentified ones. So that statement is not without factual basis. I don't know if it occurred by the busload or not, but definitely there are documented instances of individuals being transported. Now, in each of those where we knew of it and knew of the entity or party conducting that, our police department made contact with those individuals or organizations.
And Rosemary Krimble, you have a question online?
I
Let's see
do.
if
I
we
have,
can hear you.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have a question about the sound ordinance as well. Last night, the chief of police talked at the Rosemary District about a system called, I believe it was called Raven, which allowed them to be notified when a shot was fired somewhere in Sarasota, which told me at least that you must have microphones throughout the city of Sarasota if you can pick up gunshots. So do those microphones also tell you the decibel of sounds, and can they be used in prosecuting noise complaints?
So good question. Yeah, there's several companies that manufacture that technology. I don't know the exact distribution of microphone technology to conduct the detection, but that is commercially available. I don't think that specifically is designed to measure decibel level, but it stands to reason that a technology could do that. Now, that's not used to in itself engage in an enforcement transaction. It's used as intelligence to deploy law enforcement to then conduct investigative activity. So there's two issues there. One, could we deploy, if your question is, could we deploy something like that for sound? Yes, for sure, for intelligence, right? For law enforcement to respond and conduct an investigation. I don't think it's there yet to actually use that in and of itself to conduct enforcement activity.
Could I have a follow-on to my question, please?
Sure, Rosemary, make it short if you would, please.
Yeah, it's Sue at Embassy House. So you said that you contact police departments when you know that people have been transported in. What happens after that? What happens to the people, and what recourse is there for the organizations that are doing that? Thank you.
So thank you for the question. So as far as I know, SPD will contact the organization itself. It's usually like a social service NGO, and they'll contact them and find out why they were transporting that individual into the city. And if they weren't transporting them directly to, a social or medical service here, then, they'll inquire and press them on that. As far as them taking enforcement action, there really isn't a provision to do that. However, there is federal case law like Pottinger and its progeny that talk about used to talk about the legality of displacing homeless individuals from your city proper. But now that's kind of been thrown into a little bit of chaos because of the Supreme Court, not chaos, but change because of the Supreme Court ruling in the city of Grants Pass case out of Oregon's Ninth Circuit. The Supreme Court really kind of leveled the regulatory playing field for municipal regulation of homelessness response.
So respectfully, what I was told, it was the city of Naples that was behind this, not some small nonprofits, because quote unquote, they don't have homeless people in Naples.
Yeah, Naples is a nice town for sure. But I think every city's has this issue that we're all dealing with. I'm not aware of that happening from like a city official doing that. Now SPD's hot team would probably be who was tasked with a response to that. They would know, but I'm not aware of that.
Shelley Legasky.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Shelley Legasky is the outreach homeless person for the city, and she's really amazing.
Yeah.
She'll get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and if there's a complaint on something. But and David and I met with her a couple of weeks ago, as we do occasionally, and she knows when people are coming. And really, it's only a rumor that Naples does this. Naples doesn't come and say, "Hey, I'm dropping this person off from Naples." The way we find out that happened is through the homeless outreach teams.
Right.
That get called at SMH or get called to a corner, and they find out that somebody was, here from Naples. And so I think the city of Sarasota stays pretty well on top of that. And there is some pushback by the city to other communities. Venice is another one who's used this technique. So
right.
They pretty much know about this.
And when I say the city of Naples is a nice city, what I mean is they're generally pretty well governed and we have a good relationship with them. I can't see them doing something, yeah. Right. So usually when we've encountered the situations you're describing, it's a NGO or a private individual, not a government entity. I don't think Naples would do that.
One last question, if I may. You and I talked about it. This literally came up yesterday, and that's the Downtown Improvement District.
Yes, sir.
Some of you in the room won't know about them, but they're a small area of downtown, which is a self-taxing district, which imposes taxes on top of normal taxes for the purpose, for example, of the flower baskets, holiday lights, extra street cleaning and stuff. Their board yesterday proposed and adopted a motion to look into assessing an extra tax on residential units within that area. What legally, from a legal procedural standpoint, this would go to the city commission and talk to us about how that would potentially play out if that's a request.
Correct. So that's a big topic. Not one that we'll be able to fully cover here tonight, but I will say that's a very long, detailed process that's not going to happen in March or even in April. That would require amending the city commission to amend the DID ordinance. And there would be a lot of considerations that would go into that, including, this commission is a good commission and they're going to want to make sure, just like with any special district, this is a dependent special district, even more so, that there's buy-in from the community that you're talking about that the change would affect. We're about to do some undergrounding of power and some lighting districts. We always achieve and document buy-in from the affected community. So I'm sure the commission would want to see that there's that. And then there's questions about how does that affect the makeup of the DID board and all kinds of logistical questions that would have to be addressed and the commission be informed on before they took any action, which I'm sure they would want a lot of research and evaluation to go into that.
Okay, initial numbers are it's over 500 dwelling units in that area, right? And $400 million in taxable value.
Yeah.
So
just to reassure everybody, the commission's in the driver's seat of that. That is a dependent special district that, everything they do is kind of at the authority of the commission.
And John Board.
Is that 3 votes you need for that? Or?
It is a majority, simple
So
majority.
simple majority.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Hopefully, John Bordeaux, a quick question if you have one. So, no, well then, no. Question.
A question in 27 parts.
Well, there's this thing about extra taxes, to me, that's a joke, okay? Don't we pay enough real estate taxes already? Okay? Getting back to the sound issue, okay? I'm really happy to see that Joe is working this. As you mentioned, we've been waiting 5 years for this revised sound ordinance, okay? And if, moving forward with hiring a sound expert, taking the right measurements and presenting it and getting it revised, by the summertime or by March or April, whatever, it would be terrific. Okay. Because I tell you, I'm tired of people telling me, especially from the city staff, if you don't like noise, why did you move to an urban area? Okay. Well, I'll tell you one reason I moved, because I read the sound ordinance and it says 65 decibels at the property line, 24/7 at 10 o'clock. Okay. The problem is it's never, if ever, enforced. Okay. Now, unfortunately, at the first reading of the sound ordinance in December 1st commission meeting, okay, the city commission, okay, agreed on the 5-0 vote, okay, on the 5-0 vote to extend the Lemon Avenue Mall higher times and sounds extended through the whole city. Okay, so in effect, what has been recommended so far is basically worse than the current sound ordinance, which isn't enforced. Secondly, okay,
John,
is that enough?
Yeah.
we really, we've got a, our
But
normal.
I think that's all gonna come under the purview of the sound experts.
Yeah, and John, we can talk offline too, and I will have some of our same meetings that we had, you know.
Okay.
But I think you're making the point for the sound expert. You know, the commission really needs to be informed by an expert. Am I an acoustic expert? You know, is anyone here?
We have a lot of specific information that has been conducted by other peer cities,
Agreed.
okay, that we need to at least reference, if nothing else.
100%, and that'll speed up that process because all of that exists.
One last, David, I'll finish. Okay, one last thing. Okay, Fournier, when Fournier made his presentation, he said,
All right, David, you're in charge. What are we
Okay.
doing next?
Yeah.
Joe, we thank you for being here.
Appreciate it.
And again, John, the valid points are, we've been at this 5 years.
Yes.
I get the sense of being around that there are certain people trying to slow this down and see, maybe get it into the summer when not as many people are around. So don't let that happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't sense that, but I won't let that happen.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we really appreciate you here.
Same.
And we appreciate what you do, and it's not an easy job. So
Same.
thank you.
Appreciate
Okay.
it very much.
Appreciate
Take
you
care.
being here. Okay.
You're here.
Moving on to new business. Jamie, do we have the R2E consulting engineer?
I don't think so, and I think they wanted to wait until they could be here in April.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we'll
wait.
just
I think we would've
defer on that.
yeah.
Okay.
Peter, Peter's up next.
Yep.
Oh, you got it? And then that's it.
Yeah, Peter Fanning's going to be next. We circulated around a bylaw change for consideration by you folks, and Peter Fanning has been really, really helpful in getting us to, so let him lead the discussion here.
So among my colleagues, Patrick Gannon, Patrick McNamee, and David Lough, and Clark Laurent, we've off and on had discussions formally and informally. What we've come up against in the DSCA is that we have more people that we want to get interested in helping and serving on the board and picking up committees and so forth. But what we've run into is, in several instances, you can only have one representative from each condominium association. And to put another board member on from the same condominium association, that is prohibited. So we've rewritten that section of the bylaws, not to change the one vote, one member provision, but rather to add a category of alternate non-voting member. And that alternate non-voting member has to be
Non-voting direct.
okay. This is what's been going on for 3 weeks. member, director, date, time. Are you sure it was 7:04 and not 7:05 when you did this? I'm just expressing a little frustration, that's all. Anyway, but Patrick is right. We have members in the association, which are the condominium associations. They are members. The members recommend to the board of directors, and the member becomes a director at that point in time, when they're approved by the board. At any rate, the non-voting alternate director would sit at the table and have all of the rights and privileges of a director, except they can't vote unless the regular director from that same condominium association is absent. Then the alternate can come on and not only have discussion, but enter into recommendations and votes. We've pretty much cleaned up the general membership. So Article 3, general membership, we've cleaned up a couple of items in that. And they're very small changes, but it just changed the intent of the way we were going. And the election of directors is somewhat impacted. I would suggest that if you have any questions, we'll take questions. I would suggest that we get this up and passed at the board today, because we're going to be up against a timeline notice to get it out to the membership for vote at the annual meeting. So you're going to have a couple of different times where we can get this in. If you have any concerns about it, read it. Read the bylaws attachment. If you have concerns, communicate with David, Patrick, or me, and we'll try to fix it up as we go along. And if we need to amend what we pass at the directors meeting, we can amend based on the discussion of the members on March 4th.
So you're recommending today to do?
Recommending basically to add the alternate non-voting member to the bylaws with the considerations that I mentioned. They have all the privileges except when the regular member is here, and they assume the regular members vote when the regular member is not present.
I make a motion to accept the modification of the bylaws as Patrick Fanning just explained. Peter Fanning, sorry. You never get my name right
Back
either.
at me, aren't you?
Not even.
Yeah.
Was the first and second discussion?
Discussion.
So I would like to clarify, are you recommending that the board move to recommend approval by the member associations of the draft that was submitted in our board pack?
That is the recommendation.
Yes.
The words in the board packet are clearer than the words for the question.
Well, Patrick over here doesn't always get it right.
Just to clarify,
Okay.
there are no members at the table. These are directors. The members are the association. The members can designate a member representative. And now with this change, they'll be able to propose a alternate non-voting director. However, any property owner may submit their name, whether by their association not, to stand as a director. And we now have a slate of proposed directors based on what's come forward. That will be put forward to the members also.
And I think that's accurately reflected in the documentation.
Okay, so we got a first, a second. Any more discussion? All in
That's a
favor?
good idea.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Patrick. Whoever you are.
Thank God.
If you say Peter or Patrick, you got a 50% chance.
Did we want to talk about the proposed slate of, in your backup materials was the proposed, the proxy draft and the proposed slate? It was, with the exception of Judy, who is unfortunately leaving us because she's moving out of our area. We have 3 additional slate, Richard Ruger, Kathy Sellers, and John Simon added to our slate. And how do we, procedurally, Sandra Young?
New alternate non-voting directors for election to the board of directors.
Right. And is there any discussion, additions, comments about this slate that we would be moving forward with?
I have a comment. I think this is an amazing group of people who are committed to Downtown Sarasota Condo Association and have demonstrated an ability, capability, and interest in helping us move forward in a positive way.
I would agree with that. And
The slate you're moving forward is just for these three? Or
All five.
Or are you moving the whole slate of the board for reelection?
The motion is for the incumbents standing for reelection, Peter Blanton, Peter Fanning, Bob Firth, Patrick Gannon, David Lowe, Patrick McNamee, Ken Shalin, Jamie Steele. Adding new candidates to the board, Richard Ruger, Kathy Sellers, John Simon, and new alternate non-voting directors for election to the board of directors, Clark Loring and Sandra Young. That's the motion I propose.
I would ask for a modification to the present director status. I don't want to set a precedent. A president emeritus are not elected to the board or reviewed for election. They are life-standing until the board takes action to remove the president emeritus. So I'd like to have my name stricken. Patrick, I don't know if you, because you are a representative.
We can change it to move both the president emeritus to a separate section, so now we'll have 4 sections.
No, you can mention that they're president emeritus, but there's no vote for that.
Got it, okay. You're right.
So the modification to the motion is to move Patrick Gannon and Penny Fanning as president emeritus without voting privileges.
No,
With voting privileges, I mean.
He stays the same.
Okay,
because
perfect.
The membership doesn't elect president.
Now, Peter, you're doing the minutes, so you got this documented?
yes.
I'll fix it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I move to what status? A new status?
Of, as we talked
Not an
about,
incumbent. I mean, ordinarily I'd be an incumbent, but because of the changes, I mean, I'm not.
I don't.
You're a new alternate non-voting director.
Yeah. Okay, but vote when you're, and again, the principle here is 1 vote per building. That's what we're trying to preserve, if you will. Okay, we okay?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right,
Alright then.
boy.
Now, does John coming on from 1350 get designated as the voting member for 1350?
Correct.
Yes. Okay, and if he's not there, then
Yeah,
you
then
would,
it's mine.
yep, okay,
You guys can fight it out.
all right. All right, the did taxing thing, I think we covered, that's to be continued. The one thought here is, as Joe Polzak mentioned, that there would be discussion about this, and one what if is, could we make this a topic at the annual meeting? That if the DID folks are pitching this idea of additional taxes, will then come to our annual meeting and take your best shot at making your case with our members, as many as possible, there to provide feedback. What is there?
Just for a little education, can I get the background of the DID? Where did that come from? Did the merchants get together and say should have?
We don't know. I mean,
I can help. The DID doesn't have enough money in the coffers.
Okay.
That's where it came from.
Okay.
He asked where it came from.
Okay.
He means the source of it.
I'm looking for the motivation that
Well,
started.
the city commissioner.
No, okay, so here's,
Okay.
I'm decently close to this. The DID works with about $1 million a year budget. Right? They run like we do in our budget on fumes at times, right? And I think they appear because they haven't really stated that they want to get a little bit more comfortable with the revenue side, right? They have not said to date if they would be proposing enhancements to what they do. So it's a little bit of a mystery. They just said, look, we want to bring this forward, and without any objectives, details, or whatever, and that's why it's kind of troubling, right?
Could I say something? I don't know how informative I can be, but as some of you may know, Golden Gate Point is the city's own, as far as I know, only self-taxing district. This was all accomplished before I moved into our condominium at La Bella Sera the year before. So it was in the year 2005, I think, that the program, so to speak, was run. And as I have been told, they actually had to set up polling areas, and residents had to step forward and actually submit a ballot and vote their support. There were two issues. One is to tax themselves so that there would be a bond paid off, and that bond paid for all of the renovated landscaping that you see on Golden Gate Point with the brick streets and the special lamp poles, etc. And the other piece that they voted on was that they would add to their own taxes a sum of money that would not just pay off that bond, but also maintain the installed streetscape. So it amounts to about a 9% of our personal real estate taxes that we pay every year. It's right down at the bottom of our tax statement that this amount of money is going to Golden Gate Point Association self-taxing district. It's line 306 in the city budget. It's all separated out. The bond matures in May of 2028. And what will happen after that, if the bond's paid off, there's still the yearly assessment of an amount of money that goes into a special fund. And our streetscape committee works with the city. Judy Soneker is very important in that. And it's at our direction that the funds are deployed out of that city budget line to specific things that are done in our neighborhood. Now, that is what I know of the history of it and how it works. So if they're proposing the same thing for a piece of downtown, and they have to go through that whole elaborate process, then it's a different kind of self-taxing. Okay.
Do it by referendum.
Yes.
Of those affected by the ad valorem tax increase, or you can get a sense of what the people who are subject to the tax or potentially subject to the tax feel about it. In the downtown improvement district, we did it by by meeting one-on-one with the property owners, not the merchants, the property owners, the commercial property owners, and we documented that there was a very large majority in support of the ad valorem tax. On St. Armand's, there was a business improvement district. They had a referendum. Now, perhaps on Golden Gate Point, they had a referendum too. It's a different law. That's just a name. It's a special dependent district by state law. It's a state law provides for it. So,
may I add something? We've been through this process one other time. And remember, this isn't all of DSCA. It is only the condominium properties that are within the DID district. Okay, so about 12 years ago, several of us, John Moran, I think we involved you, Ken, myself, and Paul Thorpe. The DID was saying, we'd go to the meeting, the chairman would say, well, the residents are here again. What are they giving us? How they're benefiting from all of this stuff. We're down here and they're not paying anything. So the four of us went in and we met with each one of the condominiums and we got their approval to allow a $500,000 assessment on the taxes, not the full, what the DID does, but a $500,000. And we checked with the city attorney and he said he could write the language that way. And my stipulation was, having lived in the Washington, D.C. district, there'd be no taxation without representation. So I said, I want two board members on the DID. And we negotiated, and I eventually, in the negotiation, accepted one. It was killed because they didn't want anybody 12 years ago on their board. No residents, for sure. They didn't need our advice. So I think we need to discuss this from a number of points: who it affects, how it affects, and what will be our rights as a.
Just I think, yes, I think we need to find out why
Mhm.
the ones at it and what they. We need to find out why they want the residents to be taxed within the district.
Okay.
Well, let's not be cynical. Let's stop with the cynical crap. Well, we always do that. We start with the cynical crap. Look, you're not a board member, so please don't speak up unless you're called upon.
Okay.
But I think we need to find out what their reasoning is, because if they want to provide some benefits to the residents, we might want to consider that.
Okay.
All right.
This came up yesterday. I wanted to surface it. It's 7 buildings, as far as I can determine, and about 500 individual units. So
Yeah.
if that's what there's a consensus to do. No, I mean, we normally hold off the comments. We've done a little differently. So here today. So let's keep it with the board. Okay. Is that?
All right. Yes, thank you. I'm glad you agree.
Well, I mean, David and I did meet with the president of DID, Wayne Rubin. So I think we have a fair understanding of what's going on. I mean, this isn't rocket science, but to be continued, I guess,
Yep.
because it's going to be a long, dragged out process.
Okay. All right.
Give Joe Polzak some work.
Okay. Anything on the master plan, Ken?
No, where's the mic? There hasn't been a meeting for a while because we're in the process of advertising for and evaluating the response to the ads for a vendor for help for writing the new downtown master plan. We haven't got a meeting scheduled either. Once we get a new one in place, a vendor in place, we will schedule a meeting and then we'll move from there.
Okay. My understanding is April 1st is the date that the vendors have to respond by, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. City manager search. How many videos are you watching? 36 videos. And the intent is to narrow it to 6 finalists on February 10th. Nothing else much to say, I don't think.
They're available online for everybody to watch.
Yeah.
Oh.
Any creative concept?
Okay. All right. All right. Moving on. Ken, Arts and Cultural Committee, anything?
Sure. Now, we came into possession of a memo dated January 29th. We came into possession of a memo dated January 29th from Jennifer Jorgensen to the city commissioners, in which she provides a summary of some things that have been going on with respect to the SPAC. And what she said is that the city, the SPAC, their SPAF, the foundation, and the Bay Park Conservancy have been working together with Renzo Piano on an updated concept design for the new Performing Arts Center. And the features of it are as follows: a large theater with 2,200 seats, decreasing the total building square footage to about 112,000 square feet, and a total project estimate of about $288 million in 2030 dollars. The city, SPAF, the Bay Park Conservancy, and Renzo Piano have also been collaborating to incorporate parking solutions within the Bay Park to address the needs of the SPAC, the Van Wezel, and Bay Park patrons. Okay, so I think that takes care of that. They're hoping to bring this new concept to the city commission in March or April at a commission meeting there. We haven't seen the concept yet. And hopefully we will soon.
Okay. My understanding from speaking with Tanya a few hours ago is that they had a meeting with the architects via Zoom this morning, and they are in the process of further refining the concepts that Commissioner Jun just.
Okay, it's important to remember it's a concept, it's not a plan.
Right. Oh,
We have different dates on them, and Jennifer's gonna
Oh.
give you the latest.
Okay.
I think today or tomorrow, David.
Okay.
Well, let's not start jumping and criticizing right away. Honest to God, this drives me nuts about this city. Well, that's what happens when we start handing out stuff like this. The other, what I also wanted to mention, I'm just frustrated like Peter is.
Not anymore.
Well, he's finished. I will be in a minute. I wanted to mention, we're in full swing with the season and arts events around town. And so there's a lot going on, and it would be difficult to catalog all of them. But what I would like to suggest to people is that they go onto the website of the Arts and Cultural Alliance, because there is a weekly listing calendar of events in the city. So if you want to find out what's going on, it's always there. And you don't have to wait till the Friday edition of the Herald Tribune or something. The other thing I've discovered recently is that there's a lot of musical events going on at churches around town. Some of them are listed in the Arts and Cultural Alliance calendar, weekly calendar, but some aren't. In fact, there's some really significant ones going on at the St. Armand's Lutheran Church. On March 3rd, the co-organist of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France, is playing a concert at the church. It's sold out already, and nobody even seems to know about it. But there's another one well, but you didn't, did you? And I didn't. Yeah. Well, we don't want those keeping it secret. So we all want a chance. But there's another concert at St. Boniface Church this Saturday, a theater organ concert that's open to the public. And that wasn't advertised either. So hopefully people will check the individual websites of the churches around town that have their own concert series. Thank you.
Okay.
The Arts and Cultural Alliance website doesn't have these on there?
No, not all of them. They have things like Church of the Redeemer and Church of the Palms, but some of the churches aren't connected. Yeah, thank you.
Associated events, March 4th annual meeting. I know there have been some a month from today. I think. Or today.
Kind of repeating itself. This is the did. Okay, there currently are there two proposals for the annual meeting. One is Patrick Gannon is going to explain. The second one is making DID, the whole discussion of DID, starting to explain to everyone what we know about DID, what's happened in all the other districts, what it means, so we can prepare ourselves to be ready to gather data from our constituents to determine how we want to respond to this process that is actually going to take probably over a year to resolve. But now we turn it over to Patrick to express his suggestion on what we should do at the annual meeting, which is a month from now. I think that's right. Isn't that it?
Detailed stuff from this internal dialogue.
I can get it. We'll talk about it first while I pull it up.
Okay, well, we had scheduled the annual meeting for March 4th, which is when our regular board meeting. And as part of the annual meeting, we typically have a members' annual meeting, essentially what it is for the member representatives, and to primarily to cast the proxy votes for the slate of directors, and then it'll be for the bylaws amendments that are going out. So we'll have a proxy going out with this material that was discussed today. And that takes care of the main organizing part of that. We then have a short board meeting where the newly elected directors then elect the officers for the coming year for that. That usually takes within 45 minutes to an hour or less to do that. And so what we were planning was a way to involve our members in the town hall. If you recall, a couple of years ago, David did a Q&A with Steve Cover, and it was at the Fogartyville. And we had questions from the audience for that. And it was a good opportunity for members to engage around those set of topics. As we were preparing for this one, a lot of what the DSCA has been doing, and if those who read the accomplishments from last year, what we're going to do this year, DSCA is actively involved in a number of issues that are occurring in the city for change. We have, as we know, we'll be discussing in April, the downtown master plan update process coming. That incorporates a whole lot. We've been informed of the changes coming around the comprehensive plan for the transportation chapter and others. We discussed earlier today changes with the sound ordinance, changes with the special events ordinance, and now just introduced changes due to the downtown improvement district wanting to make changes to us. And then on top of that, as I've been reviewing with my own condo and talking to other condo member reps, is so many of those condo boards are going through a lot of change, that the processes used to assess your budget, to do your budget planning and doing your risk analysis and systems analysis out for the next 30 years, the processes around that, the factors that are changing that, the factors coming in that are directly affecting that have been changing. And so part of this idea was to use the member meeting as an opportunity for some of the members who have had weathered some of these storms, both financially and ecologically, as well as legally, and what are some of the best practices that are coming out of this changing environment, and how can we, as DSCA, as an organization, help our members in communicating better amongst themselves, and also understanding what are some of the external events that affect, external factors that affect your own internal one. The fact that condos are being asked to make changes to their bylaws and declarations because a number of new influx of residents want to ask questions. Why was this change done? Why was this done? And boards are having to spend time researching that, answering the questions. Some of the same dialogue that we're just going through here is to, well, gee, what's the issues behind the DID and how did the expansion come about? So there's a lot of research that goes into that. Those are affecting our own condo boards. What are some practices that our condos are dealing with? So that was kind of an outline of, not going into a lot of details here, but to help our members understand what some of the groups that have been successful and some best practices, some lessons learned for the last few years, because we've all dealt with a lot of change, but it's seeming to happen even more, and more is coming, as we've seen. So that was the idea.
A breakout to the members meeting then? Is that what?
Well, this was the Q&A session, so we would present some of these topics just to give a grounding for
I
that.
think it's a real strong point because there's been so much happen. You're absolutely right.
But to hear from members, and we have some that would be on a panel to kind of talk about, hey, here's how we dealt with this kinds of issues. Here's how our board is dealing with this. Some of these things like that. And then from that, hopefully identify issues. And so while we have an active list of things that we're trying to deal with the city on and so forth, are there other things that DSCA as an organization should be doing to help our members, either in inter-member communications, things of this nature? So that was the idea of focusing that around a members meeting. And we feel like a number of these topics, especially the ones that are kind of outside our condo boundaries, are ones that will go into the dialogue for the next several months around the downtown master plan. That's going to be a major undertaking, and getting that right, understanding change factors, what can be changed. A big thought about process is, okay, change is going to happen, so what should be changed? but what should not? Are there a set of core values? Is there a set of balancing that needs to occur? And in getting that dialogue to occur both at our levels here and at the individual condo level is something that I've heard being discussed just within our condo too. So that was the idea of how to structure our members' meeting. So.
Comments?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I don't have a comment. I'm just moving. it.
Oh.
Patrick, I will share with you what we talked about a week or so ago. My concern is trying to pull off in a, the one, meeting is March 4th. We got another one 4 or 5 weeks later. Is trying to pull off and you're proposing a panel discussion?
Just a few people who have experience and have something to offer.
And who would be on the panel?
And do you, I mean, frankly, I'm very concerned about, I'm working on a bunch of stuff.
This is a proposal. If the board over here does not want to, not an interest member reps to participate, maybe volunteer, information will be on a panel in the next 3 weeks. That's fine.
I think this is something that really we should address, because I think that's as part of the Downtown Condo Association. We should be talking about issues that affect condominiums. I mean, we do an incredible job of interacting with the city and doing all of this as far as developing downtown and all of that. But I think the fact that we need to build our association where we're a resource for our buildings to talk about these issues, because I'll tell you, my wife has just come off the board as president here in Broadway, and it's been an incredible 3 years with all the changes that have legislation changes and that. And it's not just legislation, it's the effect of what's going on with insurance and all of these other issues that have really come to mind in the last few years, and especially with all of the reserve studies and everything that are taking place. That's a huge thing, because especially for the older buildings, it's a major effect, because all of a sudden there's going to be some big special assessments based to build people's enough to be able to pay for things that are going to need to be done. And it's all about the reserve study and how that is. And we've got the guy from the reserve, one of our members, or one of our platinum members I think he's going to be in April, you said? The gentleman for who's the new platinum member that's, he's the one that does the reserve studies. Well, I'm just saying, but I mean, as an example, our board has used him in Broadway Promenade, and he's been an incredible resource for helping the board navigate some of this stuff. So he might be a really good board member, really good person to have on that board if we do in fact do this.
I mean, other discussion now, Patrick, are you envisioning yourself leading this and organizing the panel and essentially pulling off the event?
I'm volunteering my time to help in organizing a members meeting. If this is a topic that people would like to talk about and have a member discussion on that, and I've reached out, I've got one volunteer to serve on a panel. If there are 2, 3 more, I am not the one to lead it. So we would need to find somebody who is willing to lead. If that does not occur, then we can have a 30-minute organizing members meeting and break to reception. So.
As a person who organizes a lot of the events here, what we would need is basically someone to reach out to every one of the panelists, create flyers, work with Robin. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and the 3 of us have already discussed that we don't have time. I think it's a great idea. I love the idea. The problem is boots on the ground and people who are actually willing to do the work, and that's the issue here.
Bob, is this something you would take on?
I'd be happy to work with Patrick as far as putting the logistics together, because I think it's an important topic that we should be talking about in this time.
Are there any other directors or member reps who would like to participate in this discussion? Let me take down names, I can't see them.
I have to be called on. Where's Mr.?
Here. Who else ran back there?
We're gonna cut you off.
Let the record show that I've been called on, Ken. I'd be happy to participate and help in any way I can.
That's gonna be $50.
No, I just fixed it.
Sure. Yeah. So we're one of the older buildings, the 101. Been through a lot of projects, still got some projects on the horizon. So I'll be glad. I've been on the board since 2019 and dealt with all those projects.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like we have consensus. I'm kind of with, oh, please.
Be careful.
If you're not volunteering, you're not talking.
This is how DSCA, how the rubber hits the road. This is exactly what DSCA should be doing. I agree with this.
You want to sum this up, David, or I'll try? So it looks as if Jamie, David, and I suggest that having two major events within a much is too much to handle, but it sounds as if there's plenty of interest and resources available. So I would support it if you two would, assuming we have a board member right now to suggest they will take the lead and coordinate all of these resources, knowing that I will give everything I can to help with the event, as I'm sure David and Jamie will, given the bandwidth that we have available. So if one board member wants to take the lead, let's rock and roll.
This is in conjunction with the members meeting, correct?
Yeah.
Jamie has the lead on the members meeting with a lot of support from us, not the members meeting, but the April forum. So this is just for the annual meeting, the members meeting.
Bob first, and I will take the lead from the board.
Okay.
We'll talk to our members here, the member reps who volunteer, and put together as something, and within a week, I'll have the panel and.
And you have our full
Ready to go.
support.
Thank you.
Okay,
Terrific.
done. Update on the April 9th workshop. Jamie, do you have anything?
At the Garden Club is April 9th, and it will be, we'll be discussing master plans as a general broad sense, nothing to do specific with the Sarasota Downtown Master Plan, just kind of how they work in a broad overview.
So at this moment, we have Emily Walsh confirmed as our moderator. We have John Thaxton as a member, Dan Claremont, and somebody else.
The city planner backed out today,
Yeah, we, I've been trying to get a city staff member without success. And I've reached out to Dave Bullock to see if there's some reason that they aren't accepting, but we're still working on the panel to get this. Jane Robinson has been suggested, a former planner, and we've reaching out to her to see if she would participate on this. I've heard wonderful things about her. So we're making some progress, but more to go. Homeless health and safety, Peter, you have anything? Okay. Transportation, McCowan Public Parking update. William Russell spoke at the Rosemary community meeting, and this is still being pursued, but this would be approximately 160 public parking places in a new apartment complex of the Housing Authority is being pursued. The issue is money, right? $50,000 a spot. So there's still an interest. We learned last night, by the way, that the Sarasota School of Arts and Sciences is in the process of developing a 250-seat theater in the old Home Resources building that they will be taking over in the next couple of years off. But that's yet again, another load, shall we say, on parking in the Rosemary. Zoning green space, Saravella. I think everybody's aware of the short-term rental. That is in Lucia's court. It seems that they are taking the position that 3-day rentals is inconsistent with requirements, but where it's kind of gone into a black hole, so I can't give you an update Yeah.
Quick thing under green space. I don't know if you saw the email, the Hoyt Architectures Lab is doing a speaker series. And on February 18th, they're going to have Jon Snow. He's from Game of Thrones, but anyway, Jon Snow on arborist Jon Snow discuss how cities can design for trees as long-term infrastructure, how life cycle thinking helps urban forests thrive for many years to come. And so those of interest.
All right. And speaking of trees, I'm working with a couple developers to try and get harmonized tree plan on 4th. And I've in touch with the landscape architect, seeing on a voluntary basis, it's the best I can do, if we can get some harmonized tree planting. DRC process. Again, this has been the never-ending story that Lucia Panica kicked off. It's been 11 months ago, haven't had a meeting, but she's reconvening a group to look at the site plan and related processes. I'm unfortunately lucky enough to be on that group, and we've got a meeting coming up soon. Bay Park.
Question.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Could you be sure that the development review committee development process includes all the way to the end of CO, to occupancy?
Okay.
Only because of the discussed before, the mass construction that's going on, the disruption that's occurring in all areas, and how that's not being adhered to, and the cities don't legal because that construction staging parking was supposed to be provided by the developer. That's not.
I get it.
Let me add a comment. So in speaking with Wayne Rubin, who's the president of DID, but he was talking as a developer working in Naples versus Sarasota. And he says Naples is totally on top of matters with respect to staging and all that. It's really tightly run and regulated. And here it's hodgepodge. So your point is well taken.
Okay, well, I would encourage you to watch yesterday's DID meeting. Larry Murphy was a speaker and talked about that. It's not going to, but for background, okay? Bob, on Bay Park Conservancy, you have anything?
More or less the same from last month. I mean, we are just about to get the community center back up and running. I think CCNA is going to be meeting there on the weekend for their first event. So that's good. They're working diligently to do that today. I was over there today. As far as I guess the issues have been done for the parking, if you want to call it book parking. That was, I guess, done in Monday's council meeting. So that's something. So I'm hoping, they're saying hopefully within a month they'll get that up and running where people will be able to actually use those facilities over there. As far as timelines and such, I guess the new restaurant probably won't start construction until 1st of next year is what they're saying now. As far as on the end, there's a lot of coordinating with the shoreline resilience program, which I guess that's been the RFP is out. I guess that's just deciding on whether it's I don't know that details have been finalized on that as of yet, but they want to try and start that within the next quarter. So that's basically where we're at.
Okay, on the CCNA, they meet on Saturday. Dave Bullock is the guest speaker. There are, the CCNA has assembled a number of questions to be asking him, but I think it proves, you know, he's leaving March 6th. So hopefully Dave will share some insights and answer some questions we hope. I think that's going to be a interesting session, and I would encourage some of the board members here to consider attending. Rosemary District Association, they had a great meeting last night. Hats off to Melissa Laughlin, who pulled that together. Must have been 120 people. Rex Trichet gave a police briefing, and then Diana Sheehan of the Bay Park gave a great presentation. So it was well attended and beautifully done. So hats off to him, and a lot of community with 3 commissioners there, which was really good. Moving on, Platinum Associates, Jamie?
By the way, everybody renewed except for one or silver members either here or watching that want to move up to platinum. There is one spot available. First, we'll start with Amy from Berg Simpson. I think you're back there, right? Yep, I thought I saw you.
Yeah, and come over here so that you look into the camera, yeah.
Yeah. No, here's the mic.
Or you can have mine.
Hey, hi, everybody. My name is Amy Neary with Berg Simpson. We are construction defect attorneys serving all across Florida. New construction, reconstruction, we do anything with constructional issues, water intrusion, or stucco, just give us a call.
Thanks, Amy. How about Adrian from Hotwire?
Hello, everybody. Adrian from Hotwire Communications. What we do is we've answered the call of the demand for increased bandwidth in all our homes, any renovations. You are seeing more and more Wi-Fi enabled devices. I mean, we did our renovation, our dishwasher is Wi-Fi. Unbelievable. But anyway, we make that investment in your property. We have we can offer internet packages from 500 by 500. These are symmetrical speeds, a robust video service. And we do this over in a bulk basis, saving individual owners half of what the retail cost for these services are. Anybody on Zoom wants to get a hold of me, David and Jamie know how to get a hold of me, and look forward to servicing you and working with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian. How about Tony from Bird Key?
Great. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks very much. Thank you, board, for this brief update. As you know, my name's Tony Brett. I'm the Commodore of the Bird Key Yacht Club. We are actually in the middle of a huge rebuild, first time in 65 years. Last time I was here, it was basically a bare patch of ground and dirt. Things are really starting to rock and roll. We've removed 65 years worth of vegetation that our friends at Arvida kindly placed there 65 years ago. Fill it with good dirt, if you will, compacted the soil, moved it up to an 8-foot level, put in the foundation stakes. Surveyors have come through. As of yesterday, we started a concrete pour for areas of the foundations. Over the next month, there's going to be a lot of underground work being done with plumbing and electrical and utilities. Major pour happening again in mid to late March. And I was told again yesterday that come April, you're going to start seeing the club, as they say, go vertical, which means it's coming out of the ground. So pretty exciting stuff going on. It's a lot of moving pieces, as you can imagine. And I've discovered that sleep is really overrated. But thank you.
Thanks, Tony. How about Michael from Excentria? And I think I always say that wrong, Michael. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Michael Buys with Century Insurance, your local condo and HOA specialist. I just wanted to reach out any members that are looking at a second, look at their insurance, or you went through a difficult storm period, obviously with Helene and Milton. We'd love to take a look now that you've kind of gotten through that process. I never want to be accused of rebating, but I would like to propose if any of you would be able to give me a look, I'd like to donate a few more of these microphones to you all so you don't have to pass them around at the beginning. So if we can do that, that would be fantastic. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Michael. All right, Stacy, I know what you're going to say, but still have an opportunity. Stacy from Fine Properties.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Stacy Cole. I am a realtor here in Sarasota and Manatee County with Fine Properties. I improve lives through real estate. And if that doesn't work, I hustle as a bartender.
Thanks, Stace. Rebecca from KW was on there. I don't see her anymore. So let's move to Becca with General Elevator Solutions. I'm sorry.
Okay, why did the elevator get promoted? Because it really knows how to handle its ups and downs.
Oh no.
I'm back with General Elevator. We help with elevator services. As we know, it's freezing cold outside and the elevators do not like that. So a lot of complaints lately with elevators moving slow. So make sure you're partnering with a good local company. And if you need quotes, give me a call.
Thank you. Kyle, RTI. You bet.
Hello, good to see everybody. I'm Kyle Goda with RTI Insurance, independent agency right here in Sarasota. We work exclusively with condo and HOA associations. As the market the conditions are still favorable. Happy to answer any questions and be a second set of eyes. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. And last but not least, I have not forgot about you, Gabriel with Condominium Associates. I did see it here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gabrielle Schaefer with Condominium Associates. We are a full-service Florida-based association management company. We've been in business since 1982, and we do specialize in high-rise condominium management in general. So if you are thinking about making a management company change, or perhaps you're self-managed and just have questions about what it's like to partner with a management company, I'm your girl. So I would be happy to speak with you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And I think that's it, David.
Our next meeting is in conjunction, so we won't be here. We'll be at Cloverdale on March 4th. And we won't have a speaker. We'll have the program instead. So we've got any other member rep final comments? We're kind of out of time, but if anybody, Jim, anybody dying to say something?
Great meeting. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's have a glass of wine. Thanks, everybody. We're adjourned.